Welcome out to beautiful Costa Mesa as the Saints and Chargers begin joint practices. I'm Brooke Kirchhofer alongside Nick Underhill and Mike Triplett. We are in the mobile Turo Hospital studio. Beautiful weather, beautiful mountains behind us, and a really great practice.
Yeah, the weather's so great you almost don't need something to get your day started, but you still do. So make sure you go and get yourself a cup of PJs. We are presented by them. They have the best coffee in all of America, and we're all the way out in California testing it out, so I can tell you that's actually the truth. Stay on the Gulf Coast and get a cup of theirs. And as Brooke said, we're coming to you from the mobile Toro Hospital studio. So if you have any medical needs, check them out. LCMC, they got a great network, great care all over the region, so make sure you're checking them out. And if you got to get to one of those places, why don't you go see Matt Bowers and buy a car from him? Best car dealer in the Gulf South region. He has dealerships, any type of brand you want, any type of car you want, they will take care of you. That's where I buy all my cars, so you should too. The NewOrleans.Football show is proudly presented by PJ's Coffee. PJ's Coffee has some of the best drinks that you can find. They have locations all over the city. They have pastries and everything else you need to get your day started. So go check them out.
For fast relief coffee.
Mike Hoss here. When the AC goes out and it's hot outside, every second counts. For over 40 years, Keefe's AC Heating and Electrical has helped thousands of families stay cool in the sizzling hot months. Keefe's Get You Cool in 3 hours or less guarantee is what our customers love the most on the North or South Shore. Call Keefe's. We'll get you cool in 3 hours or less guaranteed.
Keefe's Air Conditioning and Heating.
And now electrical.
For fast relief, call Keefe.
Moe's Barbecue is located in Metairie. They have your game day needs taken care of. Whether you're tailgating or watching the Black and Gold or LSU at home with friends, Moe's has you covered. Order pulled pork, wings, ribs, sides, and more. Come in with the family for lunch and dinner, as our kids' meals will please even the pickiest of eaters. Tailgating, parties at home, lunch and dinner, Moe's Barbecue will handle it all. Moe's Original Barbecue, 1101 North Causeway Boulevard between 48th and 49th Street in Metairie. Call 504-407-5333 for your catering order today. 504-407-5333. Moe's Original Barbecue in Metairie. Hard Hide Ponchatoula Strawberry Whiskey is an 86 proof blend of aged wheat bourbon, American light whiskey, and fresh Ponchatoula strawberries. Blended in New Orleans, it is not for the thin-skinned. Look for it in your favorite stores, bars, and restaurants. You better call Botto if you need legal help with any of the following: car wrecks, offshore injuries, 18-wheeler collisions, maritime and Jones Act, hurricane and storm claims. You better call Botto at 504-323-7777 or 985-303-7777 for your free consultation and case review. NewOrleans.Football is proud to be sponsored by Firehouse Subs. Make sure you check out their location on Veterans Boulevard. All right, let's get into the show.
Let's get into our lead topic, presented by Friend and Company Fine Jewelers. Go check out their new engagement salon, and while you're there, go check out their new fleur-de-lis earrings and necklace that you see I have on. They are specially priced for our NOF listeners. All right, let's get to the lead topic. We have a lot to unpack from the first joint practice. Let's start with how good the offense looked against the Chargers' first-string defense. Derek Carr was 18 of 26 in team drills today, and the most impressive thing that I saw from him today was how he handled different situations. He didn't get flustered. He kept everything time on task with the receivers. As we know, these joint practices can get a little back and forth. There was no fights to report from today, but what did you see from Derek Carr?
I thought he looked pretty good today overall. It was a strong performance. He commanded the offensive line. Alert, alert, alert. Like, that's all you heard through the whole thing. Changing plays, getting them into different looks. That's what you want to see. You want to see that command of the offense. I thought he was in total command of it. There was a red zone period that I thought was a little bit iffy. They struggled with protection, and it definitely could have been a lot better. They couldn't really get anything going offensively. But he looked good. Yeah. He threw solid passes. He seemed like solid against a new opponent. It was a good exposure. I think when they go back and look at it, they're going to feel more good than bad about the things they saw today.
And as we know, the two of us were over watching
the
offense.
That's why you guys led with the offense, because you guys were watching the offense. The defense had an even more convincing day, I think. This end zone behind us, we are closer to it than the Chargers got today. No touchdowns for the Chargers' first-string offense today, including two inside the 5-yard line drill and a red zone drill. The Saints kept him out. Now, look, get Keenan Allen on your fantasy team and any point per reception. The entire day was Justin Herbert throwing 5-yard passes to Keenan Allen. He did it in the slot. He did it on the right side. He did it on the left side. He did it to Marshawn Lattimore. So it wasn't like a shutdown performance. But that is the only thing that the Chargers had going for them was underneath quick throws. They couldn't get Marshawn. They didn't even test Marshawn deep. They couldn't get a Debo deep. They couldn't get Alante deep. And then when they got down here in front of the end zone, it was actually Marshawn stopped one. Nephi Sewell with a big pass breakup against Keenan Allen. So the overall, Cam Jordan was a little frustrated that they were letting him chip away a little bit. But the other good thing about that is he said when you can't get to the quarterback because they're throwing short passes, then you try to bat passes down. They had 3 batted passes as well. It was a really impressive day for them.
Yeah, and just to clarify, Mike was over on this side of the field watching the Saints first-string defense. Nick and I were on the other side of the field watching the Saints first-string offense. We are going to flip tomorrow. So getting back to the offense, what was your best thing that you saw today?
It came in one-on-ones, and it was just Chris Olave just smoking Asante Samuel Jr. just down the sideline. Yep. Samuel Jr. was grabbing him. We got the video of it. But he's grabbing him, and Olave still gets away and makes the catch down the field. And I thought it was just kind of like a superstar day for Chris Olave. He won all of his one-on-ones today. He had, I thought, maybe the play of the day in team when he caught like a little tunnel screen out to the sideline and just looked really good running the ball down the field. Didn't see him too much after that. He was on the sideline, maybe hobbled a little bit, limited in some capacity for most of the day. I don't think anything too crazy, but I thought he looked and fit the bill today. He dropped a pass in the preseason game. Coming back here, he reminded everyone who he is.
Mike, before we kick it to you, one of the things that was good to see from Derek Carr, and this is something that you mentioned, is how Carr is more comfortable climbing the pocket. What did you see in that aspect from the 10-year vet?
Yeah, he was doing it again today. He had one to Jamal Williams where he stepped up in the pocket and got rid of the ball. There was one to Juwan Johnson. It's when he has a little bit of space in there to operate, he takes advantage of it. He can extend plays a little bit, and he gets stuff done. So I thought he looked really good there where he didn't have time to do that. The one red zone period we mentioned, it was kind of collapsing on him a little bit, and there wasn't anywhere for him to go, and he couldn't make anything happen. That pressure was not coming from the edges today, though. Ryan Ramczyk did a really good job against Nick Bosa. Trevor Penning held his own against Khalil Mack. So everything that we saw coming at him was in the middle. So they just got to find a way to keep that clean. But you don't have your 2 guards out there, so not a huge surprise when it's Calvin Throckmorton and, they're just kind of piecing things together on the inside.
And we're going to get to the offensive line and defensive line a little bit later in the show. But, Mike, what was the best thing you saw from the defense today?
Well, the best individual play was an interception by DeMarco Jackson. It was the 2s, so, obviously I was a lot more focused in on what we wanted to see, Justin Herbert and Keenan Allen and Mike Williams against Marshawn Lattimore and the defense. But the 2s were pretty dominant in a large portion of the practice, especially on the defensive line. And they had a 2-minute drill toward the end of practice where shut him down on first down, shut him down on second down, and then on third down, he was flushed from the pocket, and DeMarco Jackson got the interception. Helmets flew off, celebration. They did everything but take the pictures in the end zone. So that was certainly best play of the day, and important. We're going to talk about the linebackers a lot later. It's time. Demario Davis is coming back, and he's going to start practicing with the ones again soon. So all these contenders need to have moments like that.
And we've been hyping the Saints secondary all camp. This is when the guys can really get tested in these joint practices. Was there anything that stood out from that group?
Well, yeah, that was the most important thing I wanted to watch out here. I was going to watch everything Marshawn Lattimore and Alante Taylor and Paulson Adebo did, and obviously everybody else. But it was an interesting day for Marshawn. I would have liked to have gotten his take on it because they caught a lot of passes in front of him. A lot of short stuff. There was one series, the 2-minute drill with the first string, where they completed 3 straight passes in front of Marshawn. But it was like 5 yards, 5 yards, 5 yards. They were moving the chains doing that, but they ultimately had to settle for a long field goal on that drive. He was the only other person who got a PBU against Keenan Allen. So they were about, I'd say, even in that matchup. It was a pretty quiet day for Mike Williams, though. Never looked for him deep. I mean, he's a $20 million a year receiver who's known for the deep ball. They never even looked for him deep against Marshawn. And then the one time they looked for him in the end zone, Marshawn was all over him. Debo and Taylor, I was worried it was going to be a rough day. One-on-ones, just like it always is. It favored the offense, and Alontae Taylor got cooked in his first rep. I mean, it was really, really ugly. But then he came back strong on his next one, came back even stronger in 7-on-7, came back strong in team. Adebo was pretty solid all day. So considering the firepower of this offense, I'd say it was overall a good day. The only thing they were giving up was the quick, easy stuff.
Yeah, the defense seemed like they were money, so was the offense. Just the entirety of this joint practice, especially given the new looks. This is kind of like equal playing field for both teams with these joint practices because they haven't gone up against somebody new. You get to test out the rookies and some of the new guys to the team. And given the Saints played so well in the very first practice, of course, we'll see what happens tomorrow after they review the tape. The Saints are our money segment presented by Jefferson Financial Federal Credit Union. It was just an overall really good practice for the Saints.
Well, what I liked about it was the volume of it. I mean, you guys said 18 of 26. What does Derek Carr normally throw in a practice? Not 26 attempts. And, I almost had to run back and get a second notebook charting every.
Oh, I know.
I mean, the one-on-ones, they went through everyone. The 7-on-7s, they went through everyone. The first string, second string, third string. And then I couldn't believe it. I think there were 8 different team segments. And it was red. I mean, this is why they say they like these better in the preseason games. In a preseason game, a lot of stuff is more valuable. Tackling, for one, but you don't know that you're going to get a red zone look. You don't know that you're going to get an inside the 5 look. You definitely aren't going to get a 2-minute drill look unless you play all the way until the last 2 minutes of the first half. They did. I was kind of overwhelmed by the sheer volume. Good quality, important snaps. That's one of the main reasons they like it so much out here.
Yeah, no, it was a good practice. You can't cheat, like you said. They can't sit on anything. Right. You're getting different looks. So to come out here and get an honest look at the other opponent is just always a huge benefit.
Yeah, a really good day, which means there were several different moments. And since we had eyes on both the offense and defense, we'll start with Nick first and then go to you, Mike. But what was your moment of the day presented by New Orleans Hamburger and Seafood Company?
Well, I'm just going to take the entirety of just the Juwan Johnson and Derek Carr connection, and that's something that we've seen come together. It's getting better and better. It showed up in the last preseason game, and you just see the continuation of it throughout here. They look comfortable together. He's somebody that he goes to consistently, and then in those 2-minute situations, Juwan Johnson's kind of starting to look like a killer a little bit. He's just always open on these crossing routes. Derek Carr finds him quickly when he needs to climb the pocket. That's the guy that he's looking for quite often. One-on-ones, I thought he looked pretty good going down the field. Body type, it's kind of crazy how similar Juwan Johnson and Mike Thomas are right now too. They look very similar on the field just in terms of their stature. If he can keep building on what he's doing, I think he has a chance with this quarterback to kind of really up his production this year, and we just keep seeing it over and over and over.
To that point, I was just watching Derek Carr's interview with his brother David when he came out to Saints camp, and Juwan Johnson was Derek Carr's fantasy tip.
There you go.
He should know.
Yeah. All right, Mike, and you were watching on the other side of the ball. I remember maybe a Nephi Sewell.
Well, yeah, I mentioned that, and that was a huge play. I mean, especially because it was Keenan Allen day over here on this field, and he prevented Keenan Allen from getting the touchdown in the back of the end zone. But it was that whole series. It was right here. I think they had first and goal from the 4-yard line. Colin Saunders with a batted pass on first down, flushing him out of the pocket. Cam Jordan chases Justin Herbert out of bounds on second down, and then the pass break up on third down. It was just, overall, the defense tightening up in the red zone and never letting him in there. The only team that scored was the second team got 1 touchdown in this end zone today, and we mentioned how many drives they had, so that's a pretty impressive overall finish to keep them out in that tight space.
Yeah, and this was something Nick and I were talking about on the offensive side of things, kind of flirting with what our moment would be. Juwan Johnson was a late pull, but A.T. Perry could have been one as well.
Yeah, I thought he looked great in the one-on-ones. There was a catch on the sideline. He might have been out of bounds, but it was a pretty acrobatic play, and he still managed to catch the ball. Maybe his feet didn't get down, but it was close. Then he closed it out with a back shoulder pass, and he went up and caught it and high pointed it. It was a really impressive moment. He had some catches in the team drills. He's someone that I think is really kind of starting to build on the opportunities with Traquan Smith out. He's stepped up. I think he's someone that's probably going to make the team at this point. He keeps doing what he's doing. I think he has a really, really good shot at getting in there.
Yeah, and coming up, we continue our observations from practice. Who is working with the ones? Who is here? Also, who was here and wasn't actually working in team drills? They were dressed out and just standing off to the side, not in pads. Plus, we hear from you all with our question of the day after this short break.
Now, at New Orleans Hamburger and Seafood Company, get our $10.99 shrimp remoulade combos with zesty shrimp remoulade and fried shrimp or catfish for only $10.99. And did you hear? Soft-shelled crabs are back at New Orleans Hamburger and Seafood Company.
Life is full of unexpected events, which can come with unplanned expenses. Jefferson Financial Federal Credit Union has a variety of personal loan products to meet your needs. Whether it's treating yourself to something new, paying off an unexpected expense, or consolidating debt, we are here to help. With rates as low as 8.5% APR, a personal loan with Jefferson Financial can help. Don't let life's curveball impact your financial happiness. Apply today at jeffersonfinancial.org. Membership restrictions apply. Federally insured by NCUA.
At Turo, we were born for moments like this. From bringing new bundles of joy into the world, to delivering what new mothers need to stay healthy. Born to keep hearts beating strong, and to keep seniors active and healthy for years to come. Because at Turo, we deliver more than babies. From heart care to cancer care, and newborns to seniors. At Turo, we're born to care.
Martin Wine and Spirits is home to a selection of hand-picked barrel select bourbon, whiskeys, and much, much more. They are family owned and operated since 1946 and specialize in wine, spirits, gourmet food, gift baskets, catering, and tasting events. They have many locations, so they're never too far away. You can check them out in Metairie, New Orleans, Mandeville, and Baton Rouge, or if it's more convenient, you can always shop online. Whether you're a wine novice or a seasoned collector, you'll enjoy the Martin Wine and Spirit experience.
I'll take a New Orleans Saints scratch up. Play New Orleans Saints from the lottery. Just scratch, fold, and punch your way to winnings. Punch your ticket with New Orleans Saints. Win up to $100,000. Enter our second chance drawings, giving you a season to smile.
Welcome back to Costa Mesa and the mobile Turo Hospital studio. We did not see 5 Saints players at all today. That included Taysom Hill, Jesse James, Traquan Smith, Landon Young, and Lynn Bowden Jr. Now, outside of Lynn Bowden, we know of kind of the injuries those guys are dealing with. They are expected to be back soon and not super serious. But outside of those 5, Kendre Miller, back in pads, back on the practice field. And I think it's such good timing, too, because this time in 2017, as we mentioned in the dot earlier this week, is when Alvin Kamara really shined and showed kind of his potential. Is it too late or still early enough for Kendre Miller to have his moment of the preseason?
I mean, he could play in this game, I guess. I'm surprised he's even out here practicing because it was supposed to be like 2 weeks, right, and it ended up being like a few days. So surprising to see him out here. He didn't really do anything in the team period, but he participated early on. So it's a step in the right direction. With him out, I thought Jamal Williams had a really good day today, and I think we're starting to see what he can do more and more and more with the opportunity. Alvin Kamara had a solid day. Darrell Williams looked good in pass protection. So some of these guys are stepping up, but I want to see Kendre. He's the rookie. He's the guy that you should be excited about. Hopefully he can play. I still think it's probably less likely than likely we see him this weekend, though.
And we did see Darrell Williams actually pretty solid in pass blocking. That's something maybe we'll see Jamal Williams work a little bit more on. We'll have some video of that for you all. But Kendre Miller being back is big for him, no doubt. Some of the guys that were here but working off to the side, Demario Davis, Andres Pete, Lucas Kroll, Kirk Merritt, Cesar Ruiz, and Rashid Shaheed, they were all out here actively participating off to the side. They obviously were no contact. They didn't have pads on or anything like that, but I think it was a good thing to see that they're out here getting rehab. What does that mean for these guys' timetable?
Yeah, I mean, Demario Davis is the biggest one.
Yeah.
No rush on him. If he wants to come back the day before the season opener, I'd feel confident. I wish we were seeing Rashid Shaheed more, but it's good to know that he is on the timetable that right, we've reported and we've expected. Andres Pete probably needs to get back out there if he wants to try to wrestle that job back away from James Hurst. I bet you they have him play in a game, even though he's a veteran, dealing with injuries. If not this one, the next one. But really, I mean, I think Landon Young is the only one I'm not 100% confident is going to be definitely back. It'll be nice to see Taysom Hill back out here, but Dennis Allen didn't seem too concerned. So, I mean, week 1 is still quite a ways away. As of this point, I think they should feel pretty good about the timetable that all these guys are on.
With those guys out here, is it going to be the similar rehab as to what they would be doing in New Orleans? They're just going to be doing it out here with the Saints?
Yeah, same deal. And look, I thought it was a step in the right direction for Pete. He's in a uniform. He's out there. He's working out in the end zone. I think that he probably needs to play a whole preseason game at this point because he's probably not going to play in this one. So I think the next one he kind of needs to play the whole entire game, let him get his legs underneath him. He probably won't play the whole game, but significant snaps. And just kind of looking at the usage today, I would bet almost anything Jay Kaner gets most of this game. He got no reps today. If he gets no reps tomorrow, that's a strong indication that he's probably going to at least get like another whole half. Jameis Winston didn't get a ton of work either, so he was kind of coming in for like 2 passes going out. So I think that we're probably not going to see the starters. We're going to see a lot of the backups, and some of these injured guys might be out there, but I'd be surprised on most of them.
I don't know if I love that for Jameis Winston and Jay Kaner too, because you're pretty much sitting out an entire week from preseason game to preseason game. Are we maybe going to see it's going to take a while for them to get acclimated to the game then, or they should just come out blazing to start this preseason game?
They're backup quarterbacks, so they need to go out there and just be able to get acclimated
but it's like
out of nowhere.
Practiced all week.
No doubt.
Like, that's going to play a
no
factor.
No doubt, but that's kind of their job, though.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like if Jay Kaner wants to prove he can be a backup, not kind of doing anything all week, just being in there, and then, starter goes on, you got to play. Like, he's got to be able to handle that kind of situation. So that is kind of part of the job.
You think Jay Kaner can handle that situation, Mike?
We saw him handle adversity pretty well the other day. I mean, I'm not going to overhype Jay Kaner because we fell into that trap a little bit. But look, he did respond to the adversity of his shaky start really well. So, yeah, I mean, all the things we liked about him before, poise and seeming older than he is and seeming more experienced than he is, sure, let's see how he handles this situation.
Well, we are getting to see some of the new faces. With Demario Davis out, Jalen Smith was working with the ones alongside Pete Werner. What did you see from the linebackers and kind of how they rotated in and out in practice?
It's a fascinating battle right now because Jalen Smith steps right in here. First of all, he looks the part. During walkthroughs, we saw Jalen Smith next to Demario Davis, and such a just a tantalizing duo. If those two were the two guys out there, obviously Pete Werner's going to be out there as well. And it makes you think, oh, geez, Nephi Sewell and DeMarco Jackson, these two guys who have gotten like the last 2 weeks while Demario's out, they've gotten to each get reps with the ones, get all these valuable looks, think they're really in this, and then Jalen Smith comes and they're like, oh, man, this guy's going to just leapfrog right past us. But then they both, like I said, had 2 great practices. And so it's a fascinating battle. Zach Bone is obviously in it. Zach Bone's the starting Sam. But really the battle that matters most is if Demario or Pete Werner ever got hurt, who's the guy that goes down there and plays on every down. And I think it's still wide open. And I think this week is hugely important because I bet next week we see Demario Davis back in practice. So these guys, they're clocked to make their cases running low.
I don't want to necessarily say there's also a battle with the 2 guard positions on the offensive line because I think when Cesar Ruiz comes back, that's his spot. Now, it is questionable with Andres Pete, but we did see James Hurst and Calvin Throckmorton rotating in with the ones with those 2 guys out. How did the pass protection look with those 2 in?
Yeah, I thought it was shaky. At times I thought it was kind of shaky. Like I said, it was solid on the edges, but definitely on the interior, it's got to be better. And there wasn't enough time for them to make plays that collapsed the red zone period. They did respond well, though, and I thought Carr responded well to it. They came back the next time. There were 2 red zone periods. The first one, it was like complete domination by the Chargers defense. Second time they come back, they score. So it was a nice way to rebound, but that has to be a lot better. That's the book on Derek Carr. Like, if he's having time to throw, if his interior is solid, like, he can make plays. He can kind of do everything on the field. You got to keep things clean for him, and especially in that area of the field. That's kind of where he's had issues throughout his career. So you can't have that happening. They got to be better there. But, again, Cesar Ruiz isn't out there. Andres Pete probably isn't the starter at the other spot, but maybe he is. You might have been down both starters there, and that's going to affect everything on the line.
Carl Granderson and Alontae Taylor got a lot of work in with the ones. I know we talked a little bit about Alontae Taylor, but is Carl Granderson maybe like the camp sleeper?
No, look, I made that point heading into, or even right after the preseason opener, heading into it, that I think we've talked about Marshawn and Olave being the MVPs. I'd put Carl Granderson right behind him, and I'd put Malcolm Roach behind him, and that has continued. Defensive line had a really good day today, especially the 2s. Peyton Turner had 2 sacks. Malcolm Roach, I'm not 100% sure he batted the pass. It was either him or Brzee over the field, but he was in on that. Also had a huge run stop. Also had a sack. It's the one area of the team I had maybe the biggest concern. Health of the offensive line, depth of the defensive line. Those were my 2 biggest concern spots on this team heading into camp. And I feel so much better about that defensive line depth because those guys keep taking turns making plays.
I hate to say it, I'm not buying on either group yet. Like, I need to see it. I need to see it in the end of September. Like, I can't buy on Carl Granderson yet. He kind of got tossed around a little in the preseason game. I I got to see it like consistently to believe. Like I'm still concerned. I'm still concerned about wide receiver. Like all my concerns, I think, still kind of exist. Like I'm not alleviated on anything yet.
No, that's fair. But I am a little alleviated on the options on the defensive line. It's not like it has to be Peyton Turner.
Yeah.
Because it could be Granderson. Yeah. Or, it doesn't have to be Brzee because Colin Saunders is playing well. Malcolm Roach is playing better. There's more guys who look like they could be part of that mix than I thought before.
Even talking with Cam Jordan today, he almost was afraid to give too much credit, but there was no denying his sense of excitement for guys like Colin Saunders and Nathan Shepard even too. This is a guy who has come in.
He had a sack today as well.
But we talk about the explosiveness the defensive line has. We've talked about that earlier in different shows that they've lost weight. They've gotten guys who are a little bit faster. Today was the first time that I got to ask Cameron Jordan about it, and he was almost like, what was the word he used for, what is his name, Colin Saunders? He said he was...
Bink.
No, he wore like
something about
wiggly or something.
Wiggly because of doing the worm on the field.
But not just that. Like he's genuinely talking about just how quick he is, like getting off the line and things like that. I think that the defensive line is maybe in a better spot than the offensive line is right now. I think we could. Or not.
No, not the start. No. I wouldn't go that far. The depth. Better depth on the defensive line.
Yes.
I mean, what are we talking about with Carl? Like, Carl Granderson's going to get 10 sacks. Like, if he's not getting 10 sacks, I don't feel good about the defensive line. They need someone that can get 10 sacks as a starter. They got guys that can get 5. So until I see that, I need to see it. That's too much of it. We're doubling.
My optimism about the defensive line is that they can be good enough, not that they'll be elite.
Yeah.
The offensive line, this is the first thing I wrote about or wanted to write about coming out of the game. If you give me those starting 5 guys, they could be
all 17
they could
games.
Be,
I agree with that.
They could be elite. They could be a top 5 offensive line in the league. That's not how I feel about the defensive line. I was worried the defensive line would be like a reason they lose games. I mean, last year it turned into a weakness, and I feel like they can improve from where they were last year. But the offensive line, when healthy, is more talented.
Yeah, I still think that they're I don't know. I fear they went one move short. Like, they needed another edge guy, someone that's coming in definitively. Like, he's going to get us 8 sacks, one every other game. Like, I don't know that they got it. Maybe it is Carl. I see it.
I'm thinking more so on the interior that I like the changes they made.
Doubt.
Like, something had to completely change. The philosophy of, like, just the big dogs up front wasn't working for them.
No, I agree 100% that they're going to be better. They have to be better. Colin Saunders should be better. I believe in Brian Brzee. Granderson should take the next step. If Peyton Turner does anything, that's an improvement over last year, Peyton Turner. So if they aren't better there, it's a massive issue. I think they're going to be leading games this year, so now you can blitz a little bit more.
Yeah.
You can pass rush a little bit more. It plays more favorably to that group. So all that stuff goes hand in hand. There should be more opportunity. I just look at them and I'm like, they're one short. I agree with Mike. The O-line, everybody's healthy, Derek Carr commanding it. I think that can be a strength of the team. I don't think we're going to be at the end of the season to say the defensive line is a reason they won games. It's probably, at best, they got by. Like, they got by with what they had.
All right, it's time for our Martin Wine & Spirits question of the day. Martin Wine & Spirits is home to a wide selection of hand-picked barrel select bourbon, whiskeys, and more. All right, the question of the day is, did Mike T look more like himself today against new competition compared to previous training camp practices? I'll go ahead and take this one to start. I think yes, but I think that also just goes to show just how talented Marshawn Lattimore is, and that Michael Thomas is actively seeking him out in every practice. That, hey, if I'm doing one-on-ones, I want you lining up against me, and Marshawn Lattimore's not going easy on him. He talked to us that he wants Michael Thomas to get back to his old self, and the only way that's going to happen is if Marshawn is going 110% against Michael Thomas, as if he also is back to 100%. But the things that I saw out here was Michael Thomas getting out of his breaks quicker. He looked more confident. Marshawn Lattimore, to be honest with you, has kind of been dogging him probably 65% of the time. So Michael Thomas won some battles out here.
Yeah, my favorite thing of the day was kind of, I asked him, I said, hey, like, how do you feel about the work you got done against different competition? And he's like, well, I wanted to go 4-0 in one-on-ones. He went 3-1. Like, he had a really good day in him. And I thought it was some of the best work we've seen him have overall. He looked confident. He was dominating a little bit. Am I tripping? But, like, there was good separation in those one-on-ones especially.
So they were in the short middle of the field. We didn't necessarily see the old Mike Thomas on the sideline yet. So I'm not going to give that to Michael Thomas just yet. I know that he's not even going to give it to himself. He's that type of dude that's that competitive, is thinking about, all right, like, I know when, like, it's me out there, In the short field, yes, he was creating separation. I'm not ready to say that he was able to create a ton of separation down the sideline.
I don't know if that's ever been his game, though. Like, he needs a little bit down the sideline, but, like, over the middle, the thing that stood out to me most is, like, his plant and cut was so violent that people are falling off him. Yeah, and we just haven't necessarily seen that. You know, on the indoor, we might not see it because there's really not something to plan in anyhow, but I thought this was the best work we saw from him. People couldn't cheat on him. You know, Marshawn and him have been going against each other for 8 years. Like, they know everything the other one's going to do. It's a little bit hard to get open against them. And Mike spoke about that after practice. He said he calls him over every single time because, like, he wants the guy that he's going to get the hardest test against. And obviously that's Marshawn, but you change it up a little bit. I thought it was his best practice at camp. Like, I'm comfortable saying that. Like, I thought he really, really, I don't know, like, my gauge on the confidence level of him went up after today.
Will it change tomorrow? We don't know yet. Mike, you will be on that side of the ball. Is there anything specifically that you're going to be looking for?
Well, we didn't talk a ton about how, like, Trevor Penning specifically looked against. I mean, is there a more dominant duo of Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa? He held up pretty well. So yeah, a little bit more of that. That's not the easiest thing to see. I mean, I say that, and then we're still going to watch the receivers against the defense because they're so tasty.
I was watching. We locked in on him. Brandon was locked in on him a little bit. Like, he was holding his own. There was nothing coming from the edges, and it was isolated on our side of the field too. Like, that was the nearest matchup to us. Nothing was getting around over there, and Ramczyk was holding his own too. Obviously, day 2 though. You know, they go out. Khalil Mack has now seen Penning. Can he hold up against him? Because that's kind of probably more of a real test because it's almost like a film study. Like, they're coming out here and they aren't studying at all. Now they go back. They've been against each other. It's kind of like getting some film. You're going to go out there and now you got counters to his counters. Can Penning hold up?
And I can't promise that we're even going to have the knowledge of what Trevor Penning is. It's so hard in practices. The game helped. But, geez, I think we've said this since March, May. Michael Thomas and Trevor Penning, I think, are the two most important what direction this thing goes players on the entire team.
And good luck over there. There's so many things to watch. I mean, we love being out here at the joint practices because, as you mentioned, too, you're almost running out of notebook paper. I know I was, like, flipping the notepad, trying to keep track of all the one-on-ones and 7-on-7s. I didn't even really get to get a beautiful look, I guess is the right word, at the running backs. I was kind of like, you know, every once in a while, like, we're watching one-on-ones, I was like, all right, what's the running backs doing? That's why I was able to see Darrell Williams and Jamal Williams a little bit, but I didn't necessarily get to see Kendre Miller or Alvin Kamara. Didn't get a very good look, so I might be peeking over at the offensive side of the ball tomorrow. Nick and I will be on the defensive side, though. We will continue to have coverage on NewOrleans.Football. The pads are staying on for another day tomorrow in practice. No fights today. Can't promise that tomorrow, but what we can promise is the beautiful weather, and we'll see you guys next time.